Get rid of my vacation? Pfft, have fun replacing me. I worked at a company that gave out exorbitant amounts of vacation. Anyone who worked there for 25 plus years received 8 weeks of vacation and 2 weeks of personal time. This was a family-owned company, but rather large. We ran 3 shifts, totaling 250 plus people. Enter Jimmy. Jimmy was a grizzled old man. He started at the company when he was just 20, now he was 63 and gave absolutely zero shits. Jimmy also knew how to make a specific part of our product, him and one other higher-up in the office. One day, the plant owner comes out and announces that he's selling to a corporation. He is older and ready to retire. He promises that there will be very little change and wishes us all well. The new company comes in and immediately goes after many of the great benefits we had. The first thing they do was cut everyone's max vacation down to 4 weeks and do completely away with personal time. Anyone who's maxed out had until December 31st of that year to use it up, and they wouldn't pay it out. They then go into the office and clean house, firing anyone who's close to retirement, including Jimmy's backup. But they also do away with one very important rule. You no longer have to get vacation approved, you can just call in and take it. Jimmy is pissed, and they know it. They realize that he's the only one in the building that can do his job now, so they hire a new kid for him to train, most likely to permanently replace Jimmy. So, Jimmy does what anyone would do. He calls in the first training day for the new hire and lets us know that he's going to use all of his PTO at once and promptly takes 10 weeks off. We had a backstock of parts that he had made, so it wasn't too unnerving. But for 10 weeks, Jimmy went and applied to other jobs, found one, and started. Fast forward 10 weeks, it's the day that Jimmy is supposed to return. He doesn't. For 2 days, they try calling him and even go to his house. He's nowhere to be found. Finally, on day 3, he calls and resigns, and they lose their shit. The parts he made are specialized and patented by the original founder. You can't just hire someone off the street to make them. What eventually happened was they had to contract the original owner to come in and teach some new hires how to make them, and when he found out about what they had done, it pissed him off. The last I heard, he charged them a 7-figure contract to teach them how to produce the parts, and they had to pony up or close down. Moral of the story, don't fuck with people's vacation time. In the comments, so they never tried to contact the backup and rehire him? OP says, honestly, I never asked, nor was I informed. He was like 65 and had also been there for 40 plus years, so I'm sure they did. Why he didn't come back, I'm not sure. My guess is he was bitter and doing just fine in early retirement. Jimmy is my spirit animal. OP says, our factory was next to another factory. In between them was a giant gravel lot owned by the city, and they let both factories use it for excess parking. One time, Jimmy was walking out of the building, and a coworker told him that their boss was coming to find him to let him know that he needed to clock back in and stay over to finish some work, about 2 to 3 hours. Jimmy hustled out of his truck and waited. When the boss walked up, Jimmy deadass looked him in the face, pulled out a 40 of a cooler in the bed of his truck, and slammed it. Now, I didn't get to see this. I was just told about it. Rumor has it that they just stood and stared at each other for a minute before the boss shook his head and walked back in. Since he was in the gravel lot and not on company property, there wasn't anything that they could do. Jimmy was a hard ass. A 40 is a 40-ounce can of beer. Jimmy always had a cooler with a 40-ounce cans of either Blue Moon or Milwaukee's Best in the bed of his truck. Another downvoted commenter says, I'm cool with not being taken advantage of, but Jimmy was being a dick in this instance, or worked at a place that he didn't like or respect and probably should have quit long ago. Because after this, Jimmy shouldn't be driving himself home. Like, hey, if your company fucks you around, I get it, but if they're halfway decent, you could return the favor. For the rest of us who want decent places to work who don't hate the world every morning that we wake up. OP says, I have no idea if he drove. His wife worked across the street and his brother worked there with him. so I honestly couldn't say. He did leave his truck there at the end of the week a lot and ride with others to the bar or river, so I couldn't tell you. I never saw him drink and drive, but that doesn't mean he didn't. On the other hand, I completely agree with how he handled it. He was already clocked out for the weekend and halfway to his truck when they decided to make him stay for overtime. He could have just said no, but he made a statement instead. The company was bad about alerting you to overtime. They'd come out while you were waiting in line at the time clock and pull you for a double. And this was before the takeover. Out of all the good reasons to work there, that was one of the few bad things. Another comment says, firing everyone at retirement age is majorly illegal in the US. Age discrimination. OP says, well, here's the thing. I live in an at-will state. They can come in and fire you at any time and are required to give zero reasoning. They usually give you BS reasons though, such as, we've eliminated this position, or the company is going in a different direction. They never say, you're too old, to cover their own ass. Granted, you could take it to court, but you'd probably lose. It's sad and unfair. Edit, I should have stated this earlier, but I didn't think it relevant. They fired other people as well. Probably 10 to 15 people who had been there for like 10 plus years. But the thing is, they hired people to replace almost everyone they fired who were of all ages. It was more to cut cost than to discriminate against age. People who had been there for multiple years had received raises, and we're talking dollars, not cents like most American companies. So they hired new people at the starting wage and saved a buck. I guess a case could still have been made against them though. Another commenter says, as an old guy who's been a tech exec at dozens of companies, including being brought in on takeovers, let me confirm that this is so real. Not as bad as entitled next-generation owner whelps who haven't a clue about running anything and then go firing key people in a hissy fit, crippling the company. Both outsiders and next-gen owners have rarely a clue about the secret sauce that made the original owner so successful. Better than average vacation or share options make for far better employees. Alter that at your peril. OP says, I agree 100%. This guy started this company in his basement in the late 50s and made it a $500 million company. We had great benefits, great employee-employer relations, and the lowest turnover rate I've ever seen. The new corp made it one of the worst places to work in the area. I still have friends that work there, and they just tried and failed to unionize. That's still a developing story for another day, though. Apparently they crossed some lines and possibly broke some laws. Maybe karma will strike again. Edit, Jimmy made the electric control module that was sealed and stayed fixed in a poured unit made of a 2-part epoxy. Edit 2, Jimmy didn't exactly miss out on a 7-figure contract and had zero chance to take one. He left, said fuck him, and moved on. When they contacted the previous owner and explained the situation, it was basically a, you need my help? It'll cost you $1 million type of conversation. Final update. Thank you everyone for all the attention this received. I had no idea this would blow up like this. I have immediate family working with the company still, so if I hear of any more rumblings, I'll fill you all in. Also, I've worked here for 4 years. I have a few other Jimmy stories that I may post at other times on appropriate Reddits. Thank you all again. I love Jimmy. Look at him with that perfect revenge. As if you wouldn't do that if you were put in Jimmy's situation though. Malicious compliance to the max, using the company's new rules against them, and then ghosting them at the very end, walking away and saying, screw you guys, I ain't doing this anymore. I love how the new generation kind of cost-cutting takeover backfired on them. I hope that company fails because when you devalue the people that build your company and keep it together, don't be surprised that that company falls to the ground and crumbles when those people are sent away. You'd think that new owners would be smarter than that, but hey, I guess not. And now, on to the update. This post is still rolling in likes and comments, and I can't believe how it's blown up. Jimmy is still around. I see him from time to time, especially at the local watering hole. He's still kicking and is still his old self. The company we worked for had a major restructuring about 2 years ago, and things have gotten better there, so Jimmy went back. I myself have moved on to bigger and better things, but after constant contact from their new HR and talent recruitment program asking me to come back, I've decided to at least have a sit-down with them. I showed Jimmy this post one night, and his reaction was comical in itself. Those fucktards didn't know who they were messing with. They sure as shit know now. Take in mind, he was probably 2 buckets in at this point. At the time of his re-employment, they were shaking things up due to a scare that the employees had brought a union in and were gearing up to vote on the matter. Part of his stipulations for going back were the reinstatement of all the benefits he had lost and the dealing with of 2 of the problem higher-ups, an issue that had been brought up by several other employees at that time. 2 weeks after he started back, both were walked out of the building and told not to return. I can imagine the smile on his face as he waved goodbye to the both of them. I'll be working by his side in the near future if things go well. Maybe I'll even ask for more vacation time. Thanks to all of you so invested in this story. I'm sure I'll have more to add in the near future. In the comments, Shara Lee says, "It's always baffling to me how people with so little common sense end up in such high positions of power that they could ruin a $500 million business by making a couple of extremely stupid decisions. It's who you know, not what you know, because they sure as hell don't know much." Poetic justice at its finest. Let's go, Jimmy. Welcome back, legend. Glad he got his term met, and I'm glad he got to watch those higher-ups who gutted the company get told to piss off and be on their way. Hopefully, they learn to respect the legend that is Jimmy. We love a full circle moment, and I hope that that company has learned its lesson, because Jimmy got the last laugh here, and if they mess with Jimmy again, they're gonna get the horns. And hopefully not in the form of Jimmy behind the wheel of his truck with a 40 in his hand. I thought they meant Glock 40 at the start, so I was like kind of scared with that, but I'm glad that it's a 40 ounce instead. Thanks for the story, and thanks for the update, OP. Our next post is by user Restaurant Crasher, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for eating at the same restaurant as my husband's family? I, 32 female, have been married to my husband, 35 male, for 3 years. We dated for 2 years before that. I want to start this off by saying that he really is a good guy in other areas. My husband's parents, his 2 brothers, aged 38 and 40-ish, and his brother's girlfriends and fiancés have a tradition of going out to dinner once a month. I'm invited about 50% of the time. I've talked to my husband's brother's fiancée, and she says that she is invited every time. When I say I'm not invited, I mean that my husband tells me, I'm going to the family dinner, it's probably best if you sit this one out. When I expressed that I wanted to come, he told me that it would be best if I didn't. It has caused several fights. About a week ago, my husband went to the family dinner that I wasn't invited to. I was very pissed. So earlier that day, I called and made a reservation at the restaurant that they were going to. My husband left the house, not knowing about my reservations, and I left 15 minutes after him. I ended up seated at a table where I couldn't see his family. So I got up as if I was going to the bathroom and walked right past them. They were all there, including his brother's significant others. My husband looked completely shocked and asked me what I was doing there. I told him that I'd just been dying for a steak, so I came and got one at the restaurant. My mother-in-law said that it was very rude of me to interrupt their family dinner. I pointed out that I wasn't trying to join them. I was just going to the bathroom. I told them to have a good meal, and I left. I went and finished my steak by myself. My husband was really pissed when he came home, and he told me that he couldn't believe how much of an asshole I had been. I said that he was an asshole for not inviting me to his dinners when his brother's significant others got to go. My husband said that the decision to invite was between him and his family, and I should respect it. Anyway, with the way the word asshole was thrown around, it made me think of this sub. So I wanted to ask if I am the asshole. Am I? In the comments, Tragedy Rose says, Info. What reason is he and the family not inviting you for? OP says, Nobody has told me outright. I assume that they don't like me, but I didn't want to include it in the original post because I don't know for sure why it is. Have you asked? I can't quite imagine a version of the conversation where your husband tells you to sit this one out, where your immediate response isn't, Oh, really? Why? OP says, I do ask why. He's very cagey about it. We will fight for hours, and all I get is, it's for the best if you don't come. Info. There's a reason why you aren't invited to dinner with them. What's your history with his family? Be honest. OP says, Until his mother called me rude, they'd never been outright hostile to me or anything. It was small things, like not inviting me to these dinners, that made them seem cold. They've always been kind of distant, but there was never a fight or anything to cause bad blood. I've always tried to be kind to them. Is there a major race or religion difference between you and the rest of the family and in-laws? OP says, I am mixed race and he is white. We are both Christians, but neither of us are particularly religious. My in-laws are fairly religious, but none of their kids are avid churchgoers, and they don't seem to mind. Are you 100% sure that his family isn't racist? Because that was my very first thought. Although I guess that's probably something that you're attuned to and would have noticed. Not the asshole, by the way. OP says, if they are racist, they aren't super forward about it. Maybe it contributes to their dislike for me, but I can't imagine that it caused their dislike of me. Info. Are you a different race than his family, than the brother-in-law's girlfriends? OP says, I am half black, they are all white. But I don't know that that's why they act cold towards me. Info. You have to be leaving something out, especially because this isn't just your husband's decision, but his whole family wants to exclude you. So I have to ask you, why do you think they don't want you there? OP says, I'm truly not sure. I wish they would just be honest about why they don't want me there so that I could know the reason. My best guess is that I just don't fit in. But I'm not sure what about me/them makes that the case. Info. Why are you married to someone like him? OP says, like I said, he has other good qualities. He's very funny and smart, and he's kind to me when his family isn't involved. Hypothetically, how good will his qualities be if you two have children and they're allowed to attend but not you? Or alternatively, he leaves without them as well, like they're not family. Of course, this doesn't matter if you both have chosen to be child-free. OP says, we've chosen to be child-free for the time being. We might reevaluate in 5 years or so, but we don't really plan to have children. Oh god. I don't like his family, and at this point I don't like him either. With all those comments, it's hard not to feel like it isn't just race-based, and this exclusion is because you are half black, and they don't want that. If you are being completely honest about everything here in that there have been no other issues, and the only difference is your skin color, it just leads me to believe that everyone in the family is racist, and your husband is in cahoots with them. That he refuses to stand up for you and be like, hey, you can't exclude her. If the other partners get to be here, then she gets to be here as well. But no, he's acting spineless, and he is taking this out on you instead of dealing with his family. Is his loyalty with his family and not you? Like, I couldn't take this in any other way, and I don't know how you could trust him in other aspects of your life if he won't do this. You are being ritualistically humiliated on a month-by-month basis. At least 50% of the time, like you say, but, you know, it feels like it might be even less than 50% that you get to go to. I feel like that's a nice round number that we like to lie to ourselves, that we round up to when we feel like we're not being included as much. I would die on this hill about either you being there every time or both of you not being there again. I think this is a serious relationship challenge. That's if you want to work on it, but most people would say this is a relationship breaker, and I wouldn't blame them for that. And now onto the update, titled, I Left My Husband. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented on my post. I wasn't expecting it to get as many comments as it did. I'm trying to go through and read everyone's comments, but obviously that has taken some time, and I'm still not done. This week's been a bit crazy, but I feel like I made enough progress to justify an update. Here's what happened. Your comments gave me the confidence to confront my husband about why I wasn't invited, and I wouldn't settle for a cagey answer. So I asked him about it calmly, and he said something like, "Oh, it's just the family decision." So I said, "I'm your family though. I deserve to know why." He said some very vague stuff like, "Well, you just don't fit in as well as everyone else." Yikes. And I asked him what that meant, and he couldn't really explain it. I was thinking about how a lot of you were concerned about the racial dynamics of my relationship. Personally, I had never thought much about it. No one in his family has ever made a racist comment towards me or toward anyone else. But I wanted to cover my bases, so I asked my husband if I was excluded because I was half black. My husband said, and I quote, "No, it's not because of that. You know that I don't care about that." The way that he said it implied that someone cared. So I asked who cared. He said nobody. I asked if it was his mum who cared, and he hesitated and said, "Maybe." Ooh, damn. After a long conversation of prodding him, here's the story that I eventually got. His mum is not a fan of me. My race might factor into it, but he said that it's also my personality and my political beliefs, and the fact that we went to my parents' house on Christmas Day the first year we started dating. His mum told him that he should think about finding someone who suited him better, and she encouraged him to take some time away from me. She said the family dinners would be a great opportunity for him to be with his family where he fit in. I was invited sometimes because the dinners weren't always an excuse to get away from me, but some of them were. I was obviously devastated after hearing that, but it also felt good to finally hear an explanation. I asked him if he thought that he needed even more space from me. He didn't even have the time to answer before I went into the bedroom and started packing some clothes. I've been staying at my sister's house for a few days now. I haven't contacted my husband. I'm giving him his space. We'll probably end up separating or getting a divorce, but right now, it is too early to tell. This was so hard to type out, but everyone was so supportive, and I felt like I owed it to you all. Thanks again for your kindness. In the comments, good for you for holding his feet to the fire. You deserve answers. I'm also half black and married to a white man. Racism is insidious. Even if it's not about your race, which I doubt, family shouldn't treat you this way, and your husband should be your fiercest defender. If someone in his family is racist, and the husband doesn't fight to defend her, and instead agrees to exclude her to keep the peace or whatever bullshit, then her husband is racist too. I can imagine her husband saying the line, "I'm not racist because I married a black woman." Yeah, buddy, you did. And then allowed your family to instantly segregate her. It's stories like this where I'm glad that my family instilled a strong sense of identity as a black person, because people like OP's family will swear up and down that they aren't racist while isolating and icing out the lone minority of the group. If her family had been honest with her about her blackness and how it may not be well perceived, she would have sniffed out her husband's family's racism a long time ago. But as that commenter said, it is insidious, and you always want to give your partner the benefit of the doubt. It's not always obvious that these things are happening because of racism. I feel like this had kind of been normalized for OP, in that there was enough benefit of the doubt that, oh, it's not racism, this is a family tradition. I can respect that. They want their one-on-one time. I'll get invited sometimes. It's not the end of the world. Until it's the end of the world. But I'm very happy with how you handled this one, OP. There was no yelling, there was no begging. You just got straight to the point. You got the truth, and you got out of there because you figured out where he stood. and he did not stand with you, and I question if he has ever stood with you. And it makes me question, why did he even get with you in the first place? If his family is like this, what is wrong with him? I'm surprised he was even honest with you that his mum was intentionally influencing him and trying to exclude you. You know what? She won. She broke you guys up. She got what she wanted. Mummy's boy can go find someone else for Mummy to ruin another relationship with. OP, you deserve someone who doesn't need to be convinced to treat you as family. I hope you take this time now to reset, gain some more peace in your life, and find someone who isn't a bitch boy like him. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.